Hello, welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Klára Kālindī de Luz, and I'm here to accompany you on your healing journeys. I decided to start this channel because I've been on my own healing journey for a number of years, and I kind of wish that I had had some guidance before embarking on this journey, and so I just want to share different things that have happened, some things that have happened long time ago, some things that I'm going through right now, and the main purpose is just so you have another perspective and maybe understand a little bit about what's happening for you right now, and just to be a supportive, encouraging voice. So I'm going to introduce myself a little bit and my healing journey, but I will be sharing more details in different videos as they come up, because if I try to tell my whole story right now, it's just too long. So, but I will say that, things began for me in my childhood. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. I was raised in an authoritarian country, in a communist country. At the time was called Czechoslovakia, and it is now Czech Republic, although I heard they're changing it also to Czechia, which I don't agree with, so I call it Czech Republic. It was during the time of communism, before that ended in 1989, before the Berlin Wall came down, before the Iron Curtain came down. It was a very, very controlling environment, and that created a sense of lack of safety and fear, which I was born into. Previously, my country had been in World War II. My mother was born just at the end of World War II. My dad before the beginning of World War II. And so there was trauma from the war as well. And then what happened was when I was 7, we moved from Prague to Jablonec, a city in the north of our country. And because of many circumstances, my father went into a depression, and 2 years later, he committed suicide. At that time, I was 9. And 7 months later, my mother, older brother, and I left our country as refugees to Canada. So that's a lot of trauma packed into 1 year of my life, and then coming to Canada, not speaking any English, not having anyone who spoke my language, was obviously also traumatic. But mainly, I think the difficult thing was that I just felt like I didn't fit in at all because of my completely different life experience from my peers. And so I had a lot of trouble making friends and relating to people. And anyway, that was the childhood part. And then there was trauma in my adult years as well. And in 2014, in the winter of 2014, I should say that throughout my life, I kind of felt like everything was fine. I knew these things had happened to me, but I but I thought that, they had healed and it was all good, I was completely blind to my reality, actually, to my inner reality, to my outer reality, to the very toxic relationship I was in. And but in the winter of 2014, circumstances came about where I felt compelled to write about my childhood trauma, or really to write about my story of my childhood. And this was the kind of the catalyst that like opened up that wound, and I went from being very disconnected from myself to feeling this onslaught of emotions, anxiety, everything. So I think the way I understand it now, I was you could say disassociated or frozen or whatever. I was not connected to myself at all, not connected to my body, not connected to my intuition, my feelings. And writing this piece, which I wrote, it was a 12-page story that I wrote in a few hours. It just poured out of me. And it just opened up this huge wound I was not expecting. And at that time, I really didn't have support. I had some people, a friend, and I had a counselor that were trying to support me, but had actually did not have the ability to support me. I think my counselor didn't have really experience with trauma. And one thing I want to say is that when you open up the trauma wound, it is very important to have support, because it's completely overwhelming. So because I didn't have that support, but something started shifting, and the relationship I was in became like infinitely more toxic because of this, because I was no longer the same completely compliant, although I was still quite compliant. And at the time, my family and I had been living in China for several years. And then we came back for a couple of years, and that's when this happened. And then we had a plan to go back to China. So during those 2 years back in China, it was basically hell. I had no support. I didn't feel like I could talk to anyone about this, really. It took me a couple of years before I told my closest friend what was happening in my home. Very, very toxic, abusive situation with me and my children. And as I said, the counselor was not helpful. There wasn't a community of support in China for me. And but I started to realize that I couldn't go on in this way. That like there was something seriously wrong now was quite obvious. And when we moved back to Canada in 2016, about half a year later, I started working with my current counselor, who's an incredible counselor who I feel like I owe my life to be honest. And not only has he worked with me for the last 4 years, but he's also trained me and a few others in his counseling method, which I think is very effective. I'll put a link to his website in the comments if you're interested. He doesn't really describe his counseling method, but he does take clients, and he writes a lot about dream interpretation, actually. So yeah, the last 4 years I've been on this healing journey. Half a year after I started working with him, I left my marriage finally after nearly 2 decades I was in that relationship. And so I have 2 teenage children. My kids and I have just been trying to heal since then. It's been a very long and difficult journey, but also one of amazing discoveries. And through the healing process, I reconnected to music, and I became a sound healer. I guide people on meditative journeys using sound, and I also have a YouTube channel for my sound healing work that I will put in the comments as well. So this is kind of my story, and I don't think I was ready to really put this out there publicly before, and feels like the right time now. So I'm not exactly sure how I will be doing the videos, but I feel that my intuition will guide me, and I have a tentative plan of doing 1 video a week, but I will just go with the flow of what's happening. So if you watched this video, I just want to say you're not alone at all. There are so many people going through this healing, and there's so many gifts that come. The gifts will come. You know, I see now that the things in my life that have happened were designed so that I would be able to relate and help people through those different things. And as I said, like, there have been many instances of trauma, so I feel I can help a lot of people. And if you have been through these kinds of traumas, you too will be an amazing catalyst, a great resource in the world. Whatever your journey is, you will really be awakening amazing potential that is dormant in you. And sometimes it takes a lot of pain to awaken this potential. So I have compassion for you, and I'm excited for you at the same time. And if you want to connect with me, I welcome it. You can write in the comments below. You can send me a message on Instagram. Otherwise, I'm just really thrilled that you're here, and I really hope that I can accompany you and support you on your healing journey. Thank you so much for watching.